You're listening to the Beyond My Battle podcast. I'm your host, Martel Catalano. Part intimate, part informative, and wholly designed to support you in your journey, each episode combines personal stories with expert insights to explore the many themes of life with illness or disability. So this month, we're bringing you a special episode to support you during the current coronavirus pandemic. When I say the pandemic, I don't just mean the virus itself, but the many changes the virus has brought with it or brought up for us. We've heard from many people in the chronic illness and disability communities that this is not just a super scary thing, but it's a deep emotional trigger, and in so many ways. Of course, it brings up the inherent fear of contracting the virus or someone we love contracting it, a fear that every human is faced with right now, but being a higher risk population, that fear becomes exacerbated. Some of us are feeling triggered by feeling trapped. A lot of us have been housebound before, and this isolation brings up that kind of common loss of independence emotion that so many of us have experienced. Some of us are feeling triggered by the media or accommodations that are being made for people to work from home that you had to beg for or even leave jobs because of. Or people complaining about being stuck inside when that's kind of your everyday life. So it's for sure a time of high emotion for our community. Pandemics are historically toughest on those most vulnerable, people with serious illnesses or disabilities, people who have compromised immune systems, limited mobility, or limited access to financial resources. I want to remind everyone that those with illnesses and disabilities, as well as caregivers, have a already heightened state of everyday stress, where all of these kinds of stressors, emotional, social, financial, and of course, physical, fuse together to make our nervous systems that much more in that sympathetic or reactive state. So being thrown into this coronavirus atmosphere on both the personal level and the global level, seeing everything that's happening around the world, is like a recipe for chronic anxiety for those of us who might already be battling the anxieties of everyday illness or disability or caregiving. But along with all of this, there seems to be a lot of possibility happening, a lot of expansion, a lot of unity. We're seeing businesses and homes shift in creative ways. In the quiet space, we're now tapping into passions we'd long forgotten about or put off. We're seeing people come together for virtual birthdays, conferences, or dance parties. It's really beautiful, and this fear we're experiencing is like a passageway to getting clear and getting close. Fear is an essential part of growth, and fear is always rooted in uncertainty if you think about it. We fear the things we don't know, and if we knew what was going to happen at all times, we'd prepare ourselves for them and we wouldn't be afraid. I feel in so many ways this pandemic is an opportunity to recall the inherent uncertainty of everything in life. Anyone looking at life through a lens of truth knows that we live in a constant state of uncertainty. We try to fill our days and years with plans, goals, and resolutions in order to calm that ambiguity. But when we step back, we know that ultimately anything can really happen at any time to throw it all off. Plans get canceled and goals change and resolutions turn into accepting the way things just naturally pan out. We're forced to shift in ways we don't want or release our grip on the way things go. And we're seeing that in effect right now. So really, the fear of this pandemic and all of the peripheral challenges it presents is a really loud reminder to stop pretending that we control the outcome, to stop creating expectations, and to meet the challenges of each day as they come. So in this episode, we wanted to address all of this fear, these adjustments, and these opportunities by talking with a mental health professional about the coronavirus. So I sat down with Dr. Selma Nemer, a beloved psychologist in our community here in upstate New York. Selma is such a wonderful person and has such an amazing outlook on what's going on right now. Her insight is a really nice contrast to all the coronavirus content circulating the web. We hope this episode can help you feel a bit more at ease, and Selma offers a lovely heart-centered meditation at the end of the episode that will help to regulate your nervous system too.
I'm Dr. Selma Nemer. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm the founder of One Roof, which is a holistic health center in Saratoga Springs.
Thank you for being with us, Selma. We really wanted to talk to someone in the mental health field right now, specifically because we've been hearing from the chronic illness and disability and even the caregiver community, that there's a lot of extra stress right now, a lot of extra anxiety, a lot of extra fear and feelings of uncertainty. With the coronavirus pandemic going on, we wanted to get into talking with someone about what people in our community might be feeling, what's normal to feel, and what we might do to reduce that kind of stress. So I guess let's start by diving into, what do you think people are feeling right now with the coronavirus going on? What are you observing with your clients and just out in the world?
It's really very interesting. There seems to be two processes simultaneously going on. One is uncertainty, the fear of uncertainty, and certainly the fear of illness. And the other, simultaneously, with the slowing down that we're forced to do and the social isolation and social distancing, people are getting into a schedule on a daily basis of health and well-being. And while people are also simultaneously more aware of their anxieties, each one reports a goodness that they're feeling, a sense of coming together and commonality, because it's so easy to forget that when we're, of course, afraid of our health. And people that have chronic illnesses and disabilities are more aware of that than people that aren't suffering from that on a regular basis. And yet, this is bringing an awareness to everybody. In the midst of this uncertainty, how do I best take care of myself and best reach out to other people that are part of our orbs and our circles and our community? And the awareness that this is happening to everybody on the entire planet, not just people, animals, the air, the water, that simultaneously to these profound temporary changes of the virus, that there is kind of a rewilding that's not kind of, there is less carbon dioxide in the air, the oceans without all the cruise ships, the air's cleaning without all the traveling. And so, irregardless of our challenges, health challenges, emotional challenges, financial challenges, there's this very profound sense of finding a new landscape inside of goodness and light and connection that everybody is also reporting.
Yeah, there's, I think a lot of people are saying, like, is this something that the planet or the universe or just this like collective desperate human consciousness has been crying out for and finally forced us to come to a halt and become more aware and observe more and slow down more, at a time where it feels like there's so much going on, breaking news, iPhone notification after notification, at the same time of there being so much happening and so much uncertainty and so many thoughts of, what if, and what if me, and what if someone I love. There's also this sense of calmness and tranquility and peace of slowing down for many of us. And I don't want to not acknowledge the many nurses and doctors and people in different industries that are still having to work right now, because of course their lives are speeding up. But there's definitely, regardless of the speeding up or slowing down, this sense of unification. But I want to talk about that unification and that coming together, because I was having a conversation with someone the other day when I went for a walk 6 feet apart kind of thing. And we were saying, we're both from down in the New York City area. And we were like, man, this, there's a lot of people are saying it feels similar to 9/11, but this tragedy and this great loss and a lot of fear. But at the same time, during 9/11, like, people really came together. We physically came together, and we were, in congregations or schools or groups together. But right now we're saying we can't come together physically. So, we're physically distanced from one another. And what does that do to us? And what are we supposed to tell people to do at a time of needing social support more than ever, especially when you have a perhaps immunocompromised self or person that you love that you're fearful for? What do you do when you can't be around other people?
Well, it's really, I think, coming into the deeper practices of a daily schedule. First of all, I'm an enormous believer in meditation, and that can be a walking meditation when we can go outside and breathe fresh air and still respect the 6 feet apart. But we are being forced to quiet down in a way, the whole earth, which boosts our immune systems. So this helps everybody heal to whatever degree any of us can heal. We can recognize and feel in the slowing down the more subtle messages through sensation that the body tells us, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm afraid, oh, I'm feeling lonely, whatever those are. Instead of ignoring those brilliant, intelligent communications of the body soul, for once in this slowing down, we can be aware of that within ourselves, and we can know collectively that we're all feeling the same thing. And so again, it's an awareness of the interconnection, which through technology and social media and our busyness before COVID, in a way, we were more isolated because we were all busy in our minds and racing along, and such an imbalance in the universe, or certainly our planet, the climate, we know this. And so what created this virus, I'm not a scientist of pandemics. I can't go into depth about that, but we all felt constantly such an imbalance in our world. And let's even call it a sickness. And so does that set up a precondition for a virus? I have to assume so. I certainly haven't heard the scientific explanation of what creates a virus, but everyone has been feeling this sped up life that now we're all feeling this slowing down. And so again, this parallel process is happening of this isolation that we're feeling on one level of physical isolation in our homes. And yet I have gotten more phone calls everybody just texts, you get 2 words or an emoji. All of a sudden, people that I don't even talk to all the time, it's so beautiful, are calling, and people are checking in with one another. And you walk outside, and while people are afraid to look at each other right now, there's a funny sort of not looking, and yet at the same time, there's a whole different feeling of community. People are doing these sweet, kind things for one another, and taking that goodness that they're simultaneously feeling and bringing it into action, which again gives us this profound sense of connection.
It's so true. It's really, you're so right. Like, we were perhaps more isolated and separate from one another before this. And, we're seeing people do birthday parties over Skype and, obviously teaching whole classes and, releasing new materials over Zoom, us included. And it's really showing people how to come together in new ways. I think the question is, how do we sustain that? Like, is that going to get old? Are we going to get really, really frustrated technologically? Are there some people who just, are not going to want to, make the change? Or I guess the real thing is, will it fade? Will it get old? Will this new sensation of unity and community over the internet start to dissipate? And what do we do when that happens?
Well, I think the tools of the internet right now for just meditation programs alone, for online yoga, for certainly exercising, for all these inspirational talks and people from all over the world offering meditations and breathing, pranic breathing. So for people that don't have a practice, I would hope and believe, because people are feeling anxiety and simultaneously are also feeling, well, how long is this going to last? All the big questions, let alone the financial challenges that most of us are feeling and going to feel for a while. Anybody who has started a meditation practice knows the benefits to the immune system, to the emotional being, and so my hope is that people will put themselves on healthful schedules, and one person after the other, because I'm doing telehealth with clients, all the therapists are doing telehealth, the physicians are doing telemedicine. I have to, when people experience the benefits, I have to assume, why wouldn't you want to continue? Because if we go back to the same old, it's like eating, poison food versus how we feel when we eat healthy food. So why not practice healthy food, which is daily practices, again, of what we can do as a new normal, and take this as an imprint. We will be imprinting, just like you do with meditation or yoga or exercise or just daily practices of reaching out to each other and feeling good. Then we're noticing, oh, yes, this is good for me. This is good for our family. This is good for our community. I want to keep following a daily schedule that is healthful and will boost my immune system and will help ourselves and the world.
Yeah, this seems to be more of an opportune time than ever to implement self-care practices, and specifically meditation. Of course, we're big fans of meditation here too. So we're really encouraging people to start a meditation practice right now, and to start breath work or yoga or painting, different mindfulness outlets as well. At the same time, as many people as I've talked to that are feeling like this is a wake-up call, this is an opportunity, there are a lot of other people who are just so paranoid and, living in like a state of paralysis, it seems, of I can't leave, I have to sanitize everything, or, there's that kind of character out there right now. And then there's the other character, which we've heard a lot of in the chronic illness and even more so maybe in the disability community, where it's like, but this is my life already. Like, I already was living socially isolated and turning down plans every day, and very, very frustrated character right now who is angry and frustrated that like everyone is now realizing what it means to stay in, or what it means to be afraid of getting sick. And that's my everyday. So what do you say to those people who are angry, or really just so feeling a sense of anxiety and paranoia that is so hard to overcome?
I love the mindfulness because it brings awareness to our own thoughts, and it brings awareness to our own feelings. And I'm a big in favor of touching the heart. So let's say a big wave. Let's say we're a disabled person that's angry. Boy, people are just getting this. This is my life all the time. That's anger. So to touch our heart, to touch the belly, just touching the heart and touching the belly gives a message to the central nervous system that a tiger isn't in the room, it's a thought or a feeling. And so just doing that starts diaphragmatic breathing. And we can feel the sensation of the anger or the fear. I mean, I can feel that just talking about, of course, any person would feel that way, whether they have a disability or not, but of course more so. So right now I can feel a sensation in my heart of an activation. And so when we touch the body, with a wave of emotion, anger or fear. And the mindfulness is we name it. Oh, this is my anger. This is my fear. The mind's eye, the prefrontal cortex is the hub of awareness. When we link that to the body breathing, and when we touch the heart and the navel, then the whole system starts slowing down, because we don't want to stay. It's fine and normal to have a wave of anger, to have a wave of fear. We want to help the system release it. And it's not a one-time thing. It's on and on. If we don't release it from the body, it starts breaking down the immune system over time. So then we slowly breathe in and say to ourselves, this is my anger. This is my fear. I am more than this anger. I am more than this fear. And we add some diaphragmatic breathing. And if you would like me to guide a little bit in some of that, I'd be happy to do that, because it's a really healthful practice. The Hindus called it pranic breathing, yoga ujjayi breathing, and the neuroscience is backing that when we do that, when we name it from the mind's eye, what we're feeling, and that could also be noticing fear thoughts, noticing whatever thoughts are connected with the sensations and the feelings, and we add saying again, this is my emotion. I am more than this emotion. And slow the breathing down. Then the whole system starts releasing. And then we come into a whole different place of health, healing.
Yeah, the whole name it to tame it strategy. I mean, I know there's a lot of research backing that too, which you were starting to get into a little bit there of, oh, this is fear. This is anger. We know that just by naming our emotions now, we are able to reduce the impact of them on our mental well-being. So
that is the first step, is naming it, noticing it, and naming it. And then again, by touching the body, if someone doesn't want to do that, fine, but it connects with the diaphragmatic breathing. We need to add and link diaphragmatic slow breathing with the conscious naming of the emotion. Then the system slows down, because we're giving a double message then to the release. It's a wave. The parasympathetic autonomic is the release function. We're coming out of survival mode, which is the sympathetic autonomic. We want to release and come into the pause between the waves, and that's where the healing is. So linking consciousness, naming it, releasing, and doing some slow breathing, because this is just a wave of emotion. The ubiquitous I of us all, are in fact more than a wave of emotion. We don't want it to take over us, and we're great storytellers. Then we build all the stories. Next thing we know, we're in high red alert. The system shakes. We're depleting our immune system. That pause boosts the immune system. So we want to make sure to release and pause. And the diaphragmatic breathing brings us into the pause, which is the healing potential. So we have survival and healing. We want to release out of survival mode more and more, and especially now. There's fear waves we're all feeling. We want to release it. And this is all day long. We can be conscious or unconscious. We could be mindful or mindless. We can be both. Why not notice and laugh and be gentle with ourselves? We're all going to be mindless umpteen times a day. Come back. And it's really doesn't mean we're insane when we're mindless. We're not. We're human. But we want to be mindful more and conscious more. How brilliant this universal intelligence is, that we have that choice. We can release. And the deep diaphragmatic breathing helps our system and links it up with the highest neocortex. So then we're in health and healing to whatever degree we can.
Well, would you be so kind as to share a little short practice with us?
I'd love to. I'm going to guide you. So one hand on the clavicle. The clavicle, because it takes us into, and one hand on the navel where the diaphragm is. So close your eyes, and I'm going to close my eyes. Just notice sitting. Notice this moment breathing. And we've been talking about activating things. Be kind to the body, expressing all we've been talking about. We can feel little shakes and trembles. And take a beautiful, deep, easeful inhale from the diaphragm, imagining drawing the breath all the way up to the clavicle, even to the crown, gently, easefully. Filling and exhaling. You can even make a sound like the ujjayi breathing, and drawing in the breath again, inhaling, filling the lungs, and exhaling, releasing, finding a rhythm in the inhale. You're bringing in light and presence and awareness, drawing it all the way up to the crown. With the exhale, releasing, we are detoxing. We are restoring ourselves and our body and our mind, our spirit, back to presence. This universal, ever available life force presence. So fill with the inhale all the way up, and release with the exhale, letting go. And now releasing the hands a moment, and just follow the breath from your mind's eye, feeling and connecting with your body breathing. We'll just take 2 minutes, and then I'll guide you through another session of the pranic breathing. So just following the filling and the emptying. Letting the body take a little breathing vacation. Us coming home inside. Just resting and renewing. Relaxing any tension as best you can. And then let's do one more session. One hand on the clavicle, one hand on the navel. And just gently fill with this life force, with light and breath, imagining drawing it all the way up to the sky. With the exhale, feeling spaciousness. This is effortless breathing, spacious breathing, and just letting everything go. And inhale, filling. Again, breath and light, renewal, healing to every cell and pore in the body. And with the exhale, releasing. Gentle, safe releasing. One more time, filling, like following a river inside, the river of life. And with the exhale, detoxing. Just feel the quietness inside, the stillness. Release the hands. Just watch from the mind's eye, the prefrontal cortex connecting with this body's intelligence. Slowing everything down. And that's the pranic breathing. So you can do that longer. I know we have a little time constraint. We did that for probably 6 minutes. You can do 10 minutes. The research really says 20 minutes a day. If you do 2 batches of 10 minutes of chronic breathing twice a day, it actually starts building new neuronal pathways. So we're building a foundation of health and healing.
Well, I think we all really needed that. So thank you so much. It was a beautiful practice. And thank you so much for sharing your incredible insight. I mean, this has been a great conversation that I think everyone, chronic illness, disability, or not, really can benefit from. So thank you, Selma.
Thank you for all you do, Martel, and your wonderful way of leading the world right now. So it's a pleasure.
We've put together a collection of free and donation-based resources to help you stay healthy, aware, and calm during these times. You can find our COVID-19 Battle Kit on our website, beyondmybattle.org, under Resources. We'll also be rolling out free virtual support groups, both for those living with illnesses and disabilities, and caregivers too. These will be weekly facilitated groups, so check our website under support for how to sign up for one. We at Beyond My Battle are wishing you and your family all good health, happiness, and peace. Take care of yourself, because when we take care of ourselves, we take care of the collective. Be well.